Hello Taurus, and welcome to my channel Tarot by Gabrielle. This is going to be a general reading for Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus placements, looking at your connection between you and the person that you are dealing with and are needing to learn the most from right now. We'll be pulling for all three sides of the connection, so we'll look at your energy toward it, their energy toward it, and the energy in between it. The concept being that there are three sides to every story, so we're looking at your version of the truth, their version of the truth, and this higher level unbiased truth in the middle. This middle section will be looking at what is the deeper purpose of the connection and the best way for you to move forward in order to align further with your higher self. Friendly reminder that these are general readings and they are not here to resonate fully for everyone, and they won't resonate fully for everyone. So do please remember to take what does resonate and helps your personal situation and to leave what does not. Last thing is that any information on the extended reading or on booking a personal reading or coaching session with me is in the description box below. All right, Taurus. We're going to start with looking at overall energy through oracle cards first, and then we'll dive deeper into the story with tarot as we progress. But first, I want to look at your side of the connection to the person you are dealing with and are needing to learn the most from right now. Taurus's energy toward this person, please. Ooh, interesting. Right out of the gate, you have trapped. And I was really drawn to the number. Each of these cards have a number. And usually, I don't think much of it. But this time I was very drawn to the number. And it's 37, which in numerology, 7 plus 3 is 10. And 10 really is about, endings and new beginnings. The 10 turns into a 1. And I feel like, I feel like that has something to do with the energy. I don't necessarily, I want one more before I start trying to piece together what this is talking about. Because I don't necessarily feel that this is you feeling trapped in the sense that you want out. Maybe you do. Yeah, because, there's this energy of solitude. There's this energy of almost feeling very alone in this connection. There's so much love here. That's for sure. There's so much love and so much care that I feel you carry for this person and for this connection. But there is this energy of not feeling reciprocated. Again, I was very drawn to the number 42, which that's a 6. And 6 to me is all about like the balance of give and take, the flow, right? And I feel like there's something stunted in this flow where there's a lot of give here, a lot of effort, a lot of showing up for the connection and for this person, and a lack of receiving what it is that ultimately you're wanting and deserve in your relationships here. Let's look at this person's energy toward you, Taurus. It's so interesting that I was drawn to the numbers. And then what would that be? 10 and 6 would be 17. What? 10 and 6 would be 16, and then 6 plus 1 is 7. Basic math. All right, this person's energy toward you. I was jumping to the 7. Reciprocity right out of the gate. Lack of reciprocity. So this person values what it is that you give, but struggles to reciprocate because of ego. Oh, ego. I'm not as drawn to those numbers, but if you're curious, it's 48 and 17. Ego is 17. I feel like there's some very complicated energy in this person's energy field, meaning that their actions and their behavior and the meaning behind that isn't so black and white. I think a lot of times, I hate that saying if they wanted to, they would, because to a certain extent, I think that if we want to, we will certainly find a way. But there's a lot of things that block our ability to show up healthily, feelings about ourselves, feelings about what's possible for us, things that we carry from our past. And I do feel that this person, despite the way that they show up in this connection, the lack of reciprocation, I do feel like this person, there's a bug right here. What in the world? This has been such a weird reading so far. I do feel like this person really does care about you. But I don't feel like they show it. And it's not that they don't show it ever, but I feel like it kind of comes off as if you care about them more than they care about you. And I'm not saying that's the case, but in terms of effort, in terms of the reciprocity, I feel like that's what starts to really shine through here. Truth of the connection between Taurus and this person. Money versus love. And I don't usually read this card as literal, goodness sakes, okay, as literal money versus love. I think there's more to that energy than, and I very rarely take cards at face value. I feel like they represent something, not necessarily present a specific aspect of something. You've shattered here with manipulation. Okay. I feel like on the surface and at the very ultimately beginning of this connection, this person really presented a certain version of them. I feel like they showed you a lot of effort. There was a lot of, compassion and understanding and commitment. And then I feel as things kind of moved forward in the connection, things really shifted. And this person's energy toward you really shifted, which left you feeling really confused and trying to make sense of what happened and what went wrong here. This shattered card to me is kind of about expectations that have been shattered or illusions sometimes that have been shattered. So I don't necessarily know what happened, and we'll kind of dive into looking at this deeper, from every angle, really analyzing this. But I really feel, especially with this manipulation underlying, that there's something about this person's behavior. I don't want to say that is disingenuous, but that is off. I don't know. And maybe you're like, yeah, no kidding, based on how they handled this. But I feel like it came very out of the blue because the way that they were in the beginning is very different than the way that they are now. But let's just see. We've got a lot to uncover today. Got bugs, I'm knocking things over, being drawn to weird aspects of the cards. What's going on in this energy, Taurus? All right, overall theme of this reading for you, Taurus. Someone is unhappy. Trust the universe, and then you have learning to forgive. With some people never change. On the bottom here. Okay. I feel like you're in a place where you're sitting in a place where you're pretty unhappy with this connection. Not that you're unhappy with but there's still a desire here, and I feel like that's why you feel trapped. Is you feel trapped because there's so much desire and there's so much love and there's so much care, but you're not getting what you need. And that's what's really hard. And I think that there for you also, you're remembering how things felt in the beginning. And you're like, if we could just get back to that, if we could just get back to that version of this person, to that version of the connection, then things would be really good. You're being asked with this Trust the Universe card to surrender, to let go a little bit. We'll dive into more of what specifically that means. And I don't know, I'm a little thrown by this learning to forgive card because I do feel like you have been very forgiving. Based on the energy that you're in here, I feel like you have been very understanding. So I don't necessarily know what this learning to forgive card is about. If that's about you, if that's about them, I don't know. I will know at the end of this reading, but as of right now, I don't know. So So let's dive into this more here, Taurus. Let's look at your side of this connection. You have solitude with trapped, your energy toward this person. Taurus's side of the connection. And there's the Death card, which also represents the ending of a cycle. So there is a cycle here that is existing between you and this person that needs to end here. But I feel, yeah, 8 of Wands in reverse. I feel like you're really torn, Taurus, and I feel like you're really struggling with what's right for you, what's right for, you know, the future version of you. And it's like, because there is so much desire in this connection and because there is so much love and care for this person, I feel like you do feel, yeah, I was going to say feel stuck, which makes sense. You have the 6 of Swords in reverse, you know, you have this trapped card. So it makes sense that you'd feel stuck because, you know, there also might be this feeling of, well, what if nothing is ever as good as this could be? Especially if, like, at the beginning of this connection, things were just so wonderful and so good. And, you know, a lot of times, like, we can start to be like, oh my gosh, I've never felt that way before. What if I never feel that way again? Like, what if it's only possible with this person? I feel like a lot of those things are really coming through for you right now. I do feel like you're struggling, but I also feel like you're very strong. So I feel like you've dealt with a lot in your relationships, and I think that this one is no different. This Page of Swords, I feel like you're trying your hardest to communicate. You're trying your hardest to communicate, but maybe feeling a little bit unheard or misunderstood, you know, trying to speak up about your needs, about your desires, about your feelings. There's this feeling of, I don't know if rejection is the right word, but this feeling of just not feeling validated, like your feelings don't matter, like your experience doesn't matter. And I don't necessarily know where that's coming from. We'll kind of dive more into what's going on with them, because this ego card is pretty interesting, and I want to know where that's really coming from. But with this 10 of Wands here, I feel like you're carrying a lot in this connection, and I feel like you're really doing what you can to make it work, to make this person happy, to make the connection be in a good place. And it just feels like you're carrying a lot of that alone. And I think that that's why at the beginning you did have solitude here, because this doesn't feel like chosen solitude. Maybe it is. Maybe you were like, I just need a break, and you just kind of created some distance here. But I really feel like this is feeling like you have no choice but this solitude energy. And it doesn't necessarily mean that there's separation or anything like that. I just ultimately feel that you're feeling a lot of sadness and disappointment around this connection, even though, you know, things did once feel really good. And I feel like this reading in general is about helping you find some clarity and navigating this, because I do feel like there's been, like I said, been kind of a lot of struggle and frustration around it. The Knight of Pentacles, things changed slowly. Things changed slowly. I think that, like, that's what's so difficult too, is so Knight of Pentacles with the Page of Pentacles. For you, you're wanting to just get back to how things once were, because I feel like you remember very vividly, like, what that felt like and what that experience was. And I know I said a lot about that, and I talked a lot about that already, but I do feel like that's such an important note, because I do feel that you're like, well, if things got here, we could always go back to how things were. And that's what I feel like you're really waiting for here, waiting for this person to, you know, shift their energy back to how things were in the beginning. And I think that that's what, you know, you're trying to be very patient for. But I do feel that it's kind of has you feeling very backed into a corner, because you're like, look, I know what I deserve, and I know that I can find it in this connection, because I've had it before, right? Like, especially if things were one way in the beginning. I experienced that before. I felt that way before. And now I feel like you're like, but I just, how things are, I'm unhappy with, but I know that I can be happy. So it makes sense why you would feel really lost and really stuck right now in this connection. But I'm really curious to know what's going on with them. Like, what kind of happened? What brought on this switch? where this is all stemming from. Because I think that that's another thing too, is just feeling really confused, just not quite sure like why things unfolded this way. But let's see what we've got here. This person's energy toward you, Taurus, ego with reciprocity. Five of Pentacles with the Queen of Pentacles right out of the gate. This person doesn't want to lose you. They value you a lot. But yeah, it's like, but they don't show it. This person's energy toward you. Eight of Cups in reverse. This person's really afraid of losing you. The Empress. So why are they acting a certain way? Because they see you in such a positive light here. The Star in reverse. Ah. The Seven of Pentacles. The Page of Cups in reverse. And the Fool. I feel like I need to take this. I took these because it felt like one message. The Queen of Pentacles with the Five of Pentacles. You don't have to be male or female to be this Queen of Pentacles. I'm just kind of seeing that as, alluding to the Taurus energy present. You could be dealing with another earth sign, so Taurus, Virgo, or Capricorn. But I feel like that came very straight through, it came through very straightforward. It's like they don't want to lose you, and I feel like they value you way more than you think. Or maybe you do know that. Maybe you do know how much this person does value you and does care about you, but you're just so frustrated with the energy that they're bringing. And it makes a lot of sense. I feel like this person's honestly really deep in their shadow right now. And I see that because like I was pretty drawn to this originally, but like this ego card is, looking at this, the imagery, it's a shadow, right? It's a shadow of a person, which immediately drew me to like, okay, shadow attributes. And we all have a shadow, right? We all have a triggered, wounded version of us. And that version of us is a lot of what healing is about, is getting in tune with that, befriending that version of ourselves, letting that version of ourselves be loved. But before we do healing, before we do any of the work on ourselves, that shadow is very naturally going to come out whenever we're in situations where our fears and insecurities are being triggered, which is that is almost always relationships. I mean, every relationships trigger insecurity, triggers wounding. That part of us that believes that it's unlovable, believes that it's unworthy and deserving of love. So it's interesting because I feel like you show up with so much goodness here in this connection, and you give so much to this person, and it's almost like there's this rejection of what you bring, not because there's a rejection of you, but because there's a rejection of themselves and how worthy and deserving they believe that they are of the love that you have to provide. And I think that this stems, especially with the Star in reverse, there is very much a lack of healing here, and they're very much in a place where that shadow is making a lot of the decisions here. So when our shadow makes decisions for us, it essentially proves our insecurities and our wounds correct. So when we might want and have desire to love and be loved, but if we don't believe that we're worthy and deserving of it, we don't have the awareness and haven't done the work to recognize that, we're going to push it away. We're going to not reciprocate. We're going to sabotage, right? We're going to do things that go against what is actually in alignment with our highest good, and we're kind of going to mess things up for ourselves, not because we want to, but because we don't think that we're worthy of the very thing that we're trying to, to bring into our life. And I think that that's what's so interesting about this person's energy, and maybe even why you are feeling so confused and so trapped, is because you're like, I know this person cares about me. I know they have love for me. I've seen it. They've shown up in it before. It's just like you're dealing with now, their wounds are starting to be put kind of in the forefront of things, and they're being very driven by making those, which I feel like has caused them to really shut down, close off their heart. There's some emotional unavailability here, and it's almost like they're not able, because then here's the thing, I feel like you bring problems, right? You're like, oh, I'm having this issue, or I wish things were different in this way, which is 100% what you should be doing. You should be speaking your truth, right? You should feel safe to be honest about how you're feeling and what you're lacking. And I feel like this person is filtering that through the lens of, I'm not good enough. See this, Taurus is telling you all of the ways that I'm not good enough, which is causing them to even further themselves into this shadow energy. And so I feel like right now, with where this person is at, there is very much a need for healing, very much a need to get aware that this is even happening. Whenever we're pretty deep in our shadows, sometimes it's hard for us to even recognize that we are, but that's where we start to ruin good things for ourselves, because we allow our insecurities and our traumas and our fears to drive us into behavior and into decisions that affirm, I'm unworthy, I'm undeserving, I can't have what it is that I deserve and desire, I can't have the love that I deserve and desire. So when we receive it, our shadow's going to reject it. And I think I can see that is exactly what's happening here. They are so scared to lose you, but yet they don't know. It's like they're so scared to lose you, but they don't know how to make the decisions to keep you, even though you could even lay it out for them. But I just feel like they struggle with their own feelings of worthiness, because people don't treat you how they value you. They treat you how they value themselves, right? So they're struggling with their own feelings of worthiness and deservingness and capacity, like their limited capacity to give and receive love. And that's where their behavior is coming from. So that's why it's so confusing for you. Now, one of the things that we have to realize is that like I said, everybody has a shadow, but your shadow, everybody has a shadow, and everybody has a responsibility of their shadow, meaning not allowing their shadow to be an excuse for certain behavior, right? At some point, your healing is your responsibility. Your trauma is never your fault. The things that you have been through that have made you internalize feelings of unlovableness and unworthiness, those things are never your fault, but your healing at some point does become your responsibility, especially so that you don't take your wounds and wound other people because you aren't dealing with your own stuff. And this person, it feels like, is really hiding from dealing with their own stuff, letting their shadow run the show, and keeping you in a very unfair place where you see that potential, you see that light in them, and I feel like you're doing everything you can to bring them back to that place, but they're so deep in this insecurity and in this fear right now that it's almost like I don't want to say they can't be reasoned with necessarily, but it's just, I feel like there's going to have to be a decision that they're going to have to make to, really doing the work and being able to show up in a way that aligns with what they desire instead of what they've been taught to believe that they're worth. So with that being said, I mean, that's pretty heavy, right? That's some pretty heavy stuff. But remember, we can't heal other people. We can't fix other people. We can't change other people. We can only make decisions that are going to, we only have control over what we have control over, right? Which is not other people, it's always ourselves. So I feel like, understanding that the way that this person is treating you, it's not because they don't value you. It's because they don't value themselves. And there's a lot of healing that they need to do before they're going to be capable of showing up in that. And you have to ask yourself, like, what do I need right now? What do I need to feel safe? What do I need to feel loved? What do I need to feel, chosen, seen, heard, and valued? And if I'm not getting it from this person, how can I direct that toward myself? In between this connection, you have shattered with money versus love. We're going to dive deeper into this, ultimately looking at the deeper purpose of the connection and the best way for you to move forward in alignment with your higher self. Any information on that extended can be found in the description box or the caption below. Thank you so much, as always, Taurus, for your support of my channel. I do obviously hope that this reading helped and resonated with you in a way that you were needing, and I'm wishing you nothing but love and healing and all of the wonderful things that you deserve and desire on your journey moving forward. All right, bye, Taurus.